It's Chelsa Messenger with Picks and Parlays. We're talking college football. Arkansas at Florida. It's Masters Week, which means we have a nice little promo for you guys. Use the code MASTERS for 20% off the entire site at picksandparlays.net. Florida favored minus 17 at home. The total is 60. Arkansas is 3-3 straight up, but they are a perfect 6-0 against the number. And then you've got Florida, who comes in 4-1 straight up and 3-2 against the spread. We've got Chip Chirimbes joining us to talk some college football. Chip, what do you got for us on this one?
A couple of pretty interesting storylines surrounding this game. Chelsa, Felipe Franks, the starting quarterback for Arkansas, had been a starter at Florida for over 2 years. He transferred. Arkansas has finally won some SEC games after losing 22 in a row, and they're 3-3. And like you said, more importantly to us, they're 6-0 against the points. Last week, the Gators crushed Georgia. It was supposed to be their Waterloo. They gave the Bulldogs a 14-point head start, came storming back, and were not to be denied, 44-28 on the final. Now, Chelsea, in this type of matchup, you would expect the Florida Gators to have a bit of a letdown off of a big win like that against Georgia. But they already have a loss, and they're well aware of the shortened schedule and the emergency and the importance of each and every game. There are no bye weeks. There are no coming back laters. They have to do it now. So I think that they may actually be refocused for this game. Arkansas, after a straight-up win, believe it or not, has only covered 2 of the last 16 games that they played after a win. Kyle Trask for the Florida Gators, I guess this is his stepping stone to the pro. 474 yards against that Georgia defense last week, 30 of 43 passing the ball. I like it. Florida's 9-1 lifetime against Arkansas. I like them to romp here. I think they're going to just play and put it together. Dan Muller has done a great job with that team. They're 9-4 against the points since he's taken over. And, Florida had hit a little lull there, and they were struggling. And plus the fact, Chelsea, I don't know if you're aware that Sam Pittman, the Arkansas coach, came down with the virus and will not be on the sideline. So he tested positive. And, like other coaches in the SEC, like Mullen was one and Saban, they were still allowed to attend the game. He's not going to be there tomorrow.
Yeah, I think urgency is definitely a factor for all teams when it comes to college football, because we've seen all kinds of outbreaks when it comes to COVID. So I think every team is playing like every game matters, because it definitely does when we're talking about a shortened schedule. I think for this Florida team, it's wild to me how good their offense has been, because the Gators over the past few years have been a defensive team that has struggled to find a quarterback, Felipe Franks being one of those quarterbacks. And then finally, they've settled on Kyle Trask, who has 4 touchdown passes in his 5 straight games with 4 touchdown passes. Sorry if I butchered that stat. So I would like to look at a total in this one. I know it's not your top play, but what do you think about an over? I think the total's 60. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think with the number being 60 and that juggernaut of an offense with Trask running it at Florida now, and that's the difference. They haven't had a quarterback in a decade, and he's come along and changed the outlook and the philosophy from a defensive team to a team that put up 470 yards in the air against Georgia. I think it has a good chance to go over. That's why that number is 60, Chelsea. I think you're right on with this one, I think.
Right, and Felipe Franks, to his credit, I know a lot of people try to crash on him, and for good reason. He was a turnover machine some of those years, but he's been a lot better this season for the most part for Arkansas. I think his issue is when you get pressure on him, he can make some of those bad decisions and turn the ball over. So if Florida can get in his face and make him make some of those bad decisions, I think it'll be smooth sailing for Florida. But I think Arkansas will still be able to put up some points on this Florida defense.
And, Chelsea, over the years, we're used to seeing quarterbacks coming out early and entering the draft. This year, I've seen a plethora, a large number of quarterbacks who have graduated and stayed in school and went to another school. Russell Wilson did it when he went from Maryland to Wisconsin.
NC State, that's where I went. You can't get that wrong.
Right? No, he went to Wisconsin. He went, and they fell short with him there, but they're not falling short now in the NFL. But, what I'm saying is there are a large number of college quarterbacks now that have already graduated, and their senior year has passed them, and they're playing for different teams under different coaches. And so their maturity level is growing, just like the quarterback you just mentioned, how, Felipe Franks was not a very good quarterback at Florida, and yet now he seems to be filling into the role and getting better. So he's maturing into the position. And I think Ian Book from Notre Dame showed me a little bit of that last week against Clemson. So these guys that are sticking around, the maturity's not going to hurt them when they enter the NFL.
Yeah, it's wild to me that college football has almost turned into college basketball. The amount of guys that are transferring away from programs just because they're
Yeah,
not playing. But that's an issue for another show. We're going to wrap it
right.
up on Florida and Arkansas talk here on Picks and Parlays. As always, great stuff from Chip Chirimbes. Chip, thanks for joining us.